With us is Sadhguru, and I'm not going to introduce you, but do you promise to make this a honest and feisty interview, sir? Because…
Feisty, yes, but you have to make it penetrating.
Sadhguru, is this a bad time for anyone to be associated with religion, mysticism, yoga in any form? Is there a pushback, a blowback against men of God of all shades?
I don't think so. I don't experience that. And I think that is only in a few newsrooms. That's not there in the street, that's not there with the people. But definitely, it's a little black mark on everybody's face, some people's behavior and their whatever. But I don't think it is so, it's not true in any sense in our activity, because our activity is built with a certain openness and a certain involvement of the people. Everything is done democratically, everything is wide open, and there are no secret caves in our centers, everything is wide open and open to everybody. So, it doesn't in any way touch us.
But then doesn't everyone get lumped together? Because I'll be honest…
Unfortunately, yes. In the media only, not in the world.
No? Even among people there is a sense that religion has been turned into a business.
I don't know whether religion has turned into a business or not, I don't want to comment about that. The spiritual process is run in a certain way, and it is run by the people. There is no some other organization beyond the people, it's the people. Like for us, Isha Foundation is a totally volunteer organization. Everybody is there by choice. If you do one thing that they don't like, they will leave tomorrow morning, because there is no any kind of trap that with which they're held, there's no rope to hold them as such. So it's always on a volunteer basis. That's why our workspaces and our lives are beautiful, because everybody is there because they want to be there. It's very different.
But Sadhguru, tell me this, when we looked at Gurmeet Singh, I'm not going to use Baba Ram Rahim…
No, all those people who are thinking everything has to be secular, I think he's a perfect example of your secularity.
Why do you say that?
No, because our idea of secularism is, if you say one word, you have to say three words. So, Amar Akbar Antony is your idea of secularism, then well, you got it.
Because he had Ram and Rahim in his name.
Yeah.
So with Gurmeet Singh, there were all sorts of atrocities that he was perpetrating on his followers. There are stories about how… and now we know he's convicted of 2 rapes. There were men who were apparently castrated, and yet everyone stayed on. Why do some people, just in the name of religion, have this hold over hundreds of people who are being exploited in all manner, and yet they are there?
Even I'm not able to figure that, because I've raised people around me in such a way that even if I say one senseless thing, my people will stand up and say, Sadhguru, this doesn't make sense. That's how I've brought up people around me. I cannot understand how you raise such a flock that at any cost they are with you no matter what the hell you're doing, which amazes me. If not, whatever… See, these cases and whatever, these are by law. What has to happen to anybody, not just whether he's a leader, he's a follower, he's this or he's that, it doesn't matter. What has to happen by law has to happen. What his people were trying to do, I mean, assembling around the court and creating that violence is, they were trying to force the hand of justice. They thought that they can do that. But similarly, similar things, I think, are also being done by news media, that you are trying to force the hand of justice by creating a certain hype. This should not happen. Justice should happen as per the law, not according to my likes and dislikes or your likes and dislikes. Just by the law, what has to happen must happen. This is a fundamental change I would like to see in this country, that this country doesn't run by my whim or your whim, this country becomes a law-abiding nation.
Do you think, Sadhguru, they also get a large part of their power, in fact a major chunk of the power that some men and women exert as women of God or men of God, is because of their political patronage?
I think it's the other way around. Because they have the power, see, you must understand it's a democratic process. Democratic process is a number game. Wherever there are numbers, a political leader will go and he has to solicit. That's part of his political, I would say, his political duty in a certain way. He has to solicit people's votes and support.
Even if it's a tainted man?
Tainted now, all right. Before that, how do you know he's tainted?
His case is 15 years old.
See, one thing you must understand, cases can be filed on anybody in this country without any basis. Any basis. I'm telling you, especially if you are in public life, the kind of ridiculous things that people file cases on is unbelievable. They say if I play music in the ashram, in a tiger reserve which is 200 kilometers away, 170 kilometers away, tigers are not able to sleep peacefully because I'm playing music in ashram, okay? And people are saying, I have killed 100 elephants, Virappan killed 500 but he had guns, I killed them with my bare hands, 100 elephants. I have destroyed an entire rainforest. Like this it goes on, these are all things that you can file a case. It just gets accepted, nothing happens, but media picked up and maybe 10% of the people will believe these things.
But doesn't this go against the idea that the state and religion should always be separate? The two should not mix.
See, state and religion being separate is very much so. As a part of our constitution, it is so, there's no question about it. This doesn't mean a political… somebody just because he's in politics, he should not go to the temple, mosque or church. There is no such thing, there's no such law. He can be a devout Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or whatever else that he follows, okay? Only thing is, if somebody is going somewhere where somebody has a large, cachet of votes, naturally politicians will go there. But if they go there and now seek it in the prison after a convicted man, then of course you must go for them. But when somebody is not convicted, just accused, you can accuse anybody of anything. I'm not trying to defend anybody. All I'm saying is, if each one of us start taking our own judgments, leaving the law aside, we will become a nation of lynch mobs. This is different ways of lynching, you know. We should not do that. You can always point out, you can always expose something that's wrong, but you shouldn't go into a lynch mode, because once you go, then the law will not operate properly.
Haven't we already become a nation of lynch mobs?
Not yet. Here and there lynchings have happened. That is also, I would say, because there is no proper enforcement of law there is no enforcement in a big way. So people take things into their own hands and act because the law enforcement is not equipped to handle 1.3 billion people. So those things we don't have to take as standard. Ugly things have happened, not just today, it's always been happening. Today because of too many cameras it may be captured, otherwise it's always been happening. These beatings and lynchings are unfortunately very much a part of rural society in this country. I've lived in this thing. Somebody thinks somebody's… somewhere it just happens, like I've seen this, very ugly situations. They think someone is kidnapping children because he's taking these children to sacrifice them somewhere. I don't know where this idea comes from. They just catch one strange guy and beat them to death right there. You can't do it. Sometimes I've tried to put my hand into it and save those guys, but it just doesn't work because the entire village gets into the act.
But you don't think this is in any way related to religion or a certain tacit support of late to an ideology?
See, people get lynched for a variety of things in this country. This is mainly because the enforcement is very, very slow. Suppose something happens that is very offensive to you or damaging to you, immediately you think you and your relatives get together and bash those guys and give them justice right there. This is how panchayats, katta panchayats have operated for a long time, okay? Now this new… the law enforcement as per the constitution is still new, it's only 70 years old. I want you to understand, all countries like United States, lynching was common, not only on racial basis. Even otherwise, if their society felt somebody has something wrong, done wrong, right there through the trees they hang them or shoot them, these kind of things have been there. So to make a nation into a law-abiding nation, it takes a whole lot of work. That work we still have to do, we've not gotten there fully.
Again, returning to the point of politics and religion, is now religion an intrinsic part of politics? Do you have… since we've already spoken about the Muslim vote or the Hindu vote, there's just no separating the two anymore.
I think…
should there be a separation between the two?
I think for the first time… see, first of all, let me put this forth. We are talking democracy. We are not living democracy, okay? Why I'm saying this is, if democracy has to function as a democracy, you should cast your vote by your own dint and your own will. Not because your family votes in a certain way, not because your caste votes in a certain way, not because your religion votes in a certain way. Any en masse voting, either in the form of family or community or religion, any en masse voting means it is feudalism in the form of democracy. Still it's feudalistic. So we are a feudalistic society trying to transit into democratic process. I don't think we are 100% successful, but I'm seeing for the first time in the last 5–6 years' time, people are beginning to vote beyond their caste, beyond their religion, because developmental politics, as it is being said today, is becoming a kind of a… not yet fully, but at least in the younger people, it is happening across religious groups, across caste groups. Younger people are beginning to vote for what they think is development. There's no question. Oh yes.
Because aren't parties even now identified as a Hindu majoritarian party or a pro-Muslim party, or for example, a Dravidian party? Even now we're talking about a Dravidian politics versus politics of development, which I don't even know if that's even in play.
No, I'm not saying it is not there. It is very much there. This is why I'm saying we are not yet a full-fledged democracy. We are still feudalistic society transiting into democratic process. But I feel there is a better movement towards democracy, individual people voting on their own without considering what their religion or community or caste or creed thinks is definitely beginning to happen like never before, which is a welcome sign. I think that is because of the new generation moving into the voting pattern.
Then explain to me how, in a city like Chennai, in a state like Tamil Nadu, which arguably is much more literate as compared to some of the other states in our country, you've had this shameful drama going on for well over 6 months now, and people are living with it. How are they allowing the political parties to get away with it?
See, our love for cinema is more than our love for our mothers, our motherland, our nation, or even our own well-being. So, because very popular cinema stars entered politics about 25–30 years ago, and they became so larger than life, I mean, you have to go and witness this in the villages to see what it is even today, okay? They became so larger than life, somewhere Tamil people are generally considered very intelligent people, but we lost our sense. And because the cinema, the personalities from cinema have captured ordinary people's minds in such a way that we have not voted or done things sensibly for nearly 2.5–3 decades. I hope sense dawns.
How will things change? They are still pretty much the same.
At least you mentioned Dravidian politics. I think that is on the back burner now. Nobody is talking about Dravidian politics. Everybody is trying to talk developmental politics because the segment below 30 years of age doesn't care whether they're Dravidian or something else. They are looking for opportunities in their life. And that vote base has become so big right now. I don't know the percentages, but it's a large chunk. So that vote base doesn't think in terms of caste, creed or religion. That vote base thinks in terms of where are the jobs, where is the education, where is the Wi-Fi? That's the big question, okay? So, moving towards this is happening, unfortunately not rapidly enough.
Do you think that is the reason why politicians at this point in Tamil Nadu are very wary of going into elections, because they think…
Everybody is wary to go into election because they don't know what pattern to expect. The old patterns are gone. The stars are gone, okay? The star performers whose just one word would do things are gone. Now it's like regular democracy, hard work. So nobody knows what will be the pattern of voting. Even the new stars who are trying to enter politics, a whole lot of people say they cannot win an election. Though they have massive support bases, in spite of that, many people on the ground believe even they cannot win the election per se, but they can have a strong chunk. And with that chunk, they may come to power, that's a different thing. But like olden times, olden is not the word, like old times, like MGR comes and sweeps, that sweeping is over. I don't think that'll happen again.
So you think the superstar era is over, and any superstar saliva…
No. Thinking it's over is not a wrong thing. It's not over, but that level of sweep is not possible. That means when you sweep, some things won't go with your broom. You still have a massive following, but the younger people will choose their own things and develop jobs, business opportunities, entrepreneurship. These things have become more important. That way, we have to admit that when I speak to the young people, when I speak to the students, in their minds, today Narendra Modi has become a bigger superstar than the cinema superstars. In a way, it is a positive development because at least from cinematic thing, they're moving into real life.
Narendra Modi has a bigger appeal in Tamil Nadu than…
Among the youth. Among the youth. They only hope he was Tamil. They want him to speak in Tamil because you must understand Tamil not just a language, it is an entity. It is a civilization, it is an identity beyond language. When we say Tamil, we are not talking about a language as people think. When we say Tamil, we are talking about an entire civilization.
Is India a Hindi Rashtra?
Well, then I don't belong to India, is that what you're saying?
Because you spoke of the only twinge of regret among people in Tamil Nadu being that Narendra Modi doesn't speak in Tamil. But all of this comes in the middle of a time where there is a renewed debate about whether we have a national language and whether a language is being imposed.
See, when we divided the country or we made the states in 1950, the Republic of India, we went for linguistic states. When we said linguistic states, we made a promise to the people that your language will be preserved and nurtured. Nothing else will be imposed on you. You cannot change that now. If you try to change that now, you will be bringing up a very fundamental debate which is not good for the country. When you said linguistic state, it is a promise that my language will be preserved, isn't it? Now you can't suddenly say because you got numbers, Hindi is the national language. You cannot say that. Well, a lot of people speak Hindi. If I want to transact with those people, I will also learn Hindi. But you cannot say it's national language. Then it becomes Other languages will become subservient languages, which means it's only a question of time before they die and disappear. All these languages have enormous history and a huge body of literature. You can't take them off.
Sadhguru, tell me this. In our country, why do individuals or organizations have to take the place of institutions? For example, there are more than 8,000 crores per year that are allotted for the purpose of rejuvenation or cleaning of rivers. Then why do you, as an individual or an organization, have to rally for rivers?
Because we are a nation who's still in the making. We are not a dumb nation. We are still in the making. That's what a developing nation means. When a nation is still in the mode of development, not yet developed, this means every hand has to be a part of nation building. Just the government cannot do, even if they have the intent, they don't have the means to do everything. So especially when it comes to rivers, the fundamental aspect of the river is, it's a concurrent subject between the center and the state. And always, as you know, being in news and, political stuff, you're hearing every day, depending upon the party affiliations, if this party says something, everybody will just naturally oppose, without even considering whether it's really good for the nation or bad for the nation. So, because we have taken on this appellation of being opposition, a lot of people have taken this title very seriously and they think they have to oppose everything. Just everything they will oppose. This has become the norm. So, it is a concurrent subject. No government, central government, can ever make a law which is enforceable or implementable without the concurrence of the states, because the rivers run through the states. Center doesn't have a territory as such, except for a few areas of management. Rest of it is in the state hands. So the rally that I'm personally driving from Kanyakumari to Himalayas, driving through 16 states, people ask me, why only 16, why not 28? Because these 16 states are heavily farmed states. This is where the problem is. As you go east, there over 40% forest cover is still there. There is no great problem as such. Here is the problem. Fortunately, all the chief ministers are participating in the events. And the wonderful thing is, only one or two I went and met them. Rest of them I just wrote a letter. Within 15 days, all of them confirmed their attendance in the events. This is not a small thing, this is concurrence.
And these are across political parties?
Across political.
How did you manage what even the Prime Minister has not managed so far?
Because Prime Minister, unfortunately in this country, we are not seeing the Prime Minister as Prime Minister of India. We still think he belongs to a party.
Well, thank you very much, Sadhguru, for having answered very patiently and honestly all of our questions. Pleasure as always.